What is going on? Panthers Nation. Technically, not only Panthers Nation, this is more of a Carolina dad show because we got a little UNC football talk. We have a little bit of Gamecock football talk because it is that season, man. We are quickly approaching college football. Number one, hope you guys are doing well. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are on the path to get to 3,000 subscribers. We've got, 60 days to do that before the NFL season kicks off. I think we can do it. We're averaging 150, 170, almost 200 subscribers per month. Much appreciated, but hope you guys are doing well. We're keeping with the theme. If you guys have been here, hopefully you have. If not, welcome, of our Sunday night live streams. So we do this in the football season during the NFL. Sunday nights, we live stream after every Carolina Panthers football game. I know live streaming is important. I make a lot of content as it is, which is just being connected with you guys. So much appreciated. Also know there's somewhat of a little bit of confusion. We've got a few things stacked up on updating the channel name on YouTube. So we're working through all that stuff, but hope you guys are doing well. We are going to start off with some Carolina Panthers talk. Now, with that said, I'm not going to spend too much time on the Carolina Panthers, but then again, I might. We'll see. I'm honestly not going to stay on here too long tonight, probably like 20 minutes, 25 minutes tops, just to get through a few topics. But with that said, we do have a new episode of the podcast available now. Of course, you guys can watch it on YouTube. If you're here on the live stream, you can watch it after this episode. It's available. And of course, wherever you get your podcast. So we have that. We just recorded a mailbag episode that's going to come out tomorrow, Monday mailbag. So you'll have that coming for you. And then, like we always do, every single year, we are in the process of doing our 90-man roster preview leading up to training camp. We cover every single player on the roster. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, practice squad guys, undrafted free agents, we give you the lowdown, estimations, early thoughts on who we think is going to make the roster. And I say it is me, who I think is going to make the roster. So we just got through the quarterbacks. I recorded that one earlier today. I just recorded the running backs. Those have not been edited or anything like that. So I'll start to get those published. We'll have all of those ready within the next 2 weeks, leading up to when rookies report to minicamp on the 21st, veterans on the 22nd, training camp starting on the 23rd. It is right around the corner. We do this every year. I will tell you, just like I mean, you guys haven't seen it yet. One, I hope you guys, if you did not go back and watch the video podcast from earlier today, please do so. We are now taking strides, getting back into creating some graphics for you guys. It was nothing fancy today, but we are working myself back into doing that as we get closer into the season. I just put out so much stuff that sometimes it's easier to get on here and talk and go through. So, it's hit or miss, but I'm trying to hold myself accountable. We got some fun stuff that's going to be coming along. Also, I'm going to turn the camera here in just a second so you guys can actually see this. Hopefully we can turn it. We have our 2025 calendar, which finally, in the month of July, we get a player that is here in Carolina still. So if you guys have not, hold on, let's move this down. If you guys have not been following this, the list of players that are on this, maybe that's on the back. Yeah, here we go. So the number of players that are no longer here, your Jonathan Mingos, I actually don't have it in front of me. Anyways, the number of players that are not in Carolina that are on this calendar is the funniest thing that you can see. So finally, for the month of July, we have a little bit of stability. Following that up with Derek Brown. So a nice 1-2 punch between those. And then we get into Chandler Zavala. No knock on Chandler Zavala, but I guess the crew was trying to just pick players that were under contract that had a possibility of being here. So there you have it. Anyways, let's jump in. Oh, man. What's good? Rory Blake. How's it going, man? Looking forward to it. Appreciate you tuning in. What's up, C? What's up, Doug? I was about to say, what's up, CD to myself. I appreciate it, man. I know you are a busy man right now. I got to tune in earlier. Y'all, if again, I don't know how many Panthers fans are tuned in, but make sure you guys are tapped into What's Up, Doug, as always. Really good content out there. So here we go. Number one, hope you guys had a fantastic 4th of July weekend. For those in the U.S., I know we have people all around the world tuning into this, but for us here, it was nice. It was a long day. It always is. We go out to the beach at Ocean Isle. We don't live there, but we drive down. It's about 50 minutes from us. We do the beach half a day, go out to eat right there, whatever restaurant, will take us last minute, because there's not many that have, get those reservations. Then go back to the beach for the fireworks show. And then we get to sit in traffic for about an hour trying to get off the island. It's fun. It's fun. I'm just kidding. It is a fun experience. Like getting to watch fireworks, if you ever have the opportunity, on 4th of July, on the beach, in your chair. It's fun. It was a good experience. And they also had a coffee truck out there. So we made it through, even though Pearson, I think, was on his last leg. By the time we got back to the car, it was like 9:45, almost 10. He passed out in 2 seconds. And I think we got home at like 11 o'clock. So it was a late night. Anyways, hope you guys had a really good 4th of July. If you got a chance, hopefully got to spend some time with family. We did. Father-in-law came down, spent time with sister-in-law, mother-in-law earlier in the week. So it was good. We got to go down to Charleston to see family, grandparents. Good time. So anyways, let's talk a little. And it's funny. This shows you how much I've been paying attention or not paying attention with everything, because we're in the middle of the summer. Talking about training camp, I'm not really going to go into the battles, because all that stuff's like I'm creating this whole 90-man breakdown to actually talk through position battles and cuts and who is or isn't going to make it. So I won't get too in the weeds on that today. Happy to do that when we get closer to camp and I have all this stuff out. But talking through the logistics of training camp itself is a little unique this year for folks that are accustomed to going. So we've, fortunately, for the last 3 years, have been able to go to training camp. Got to spend more time at camp when it was in Wofford, again, because of Spartanburg and family. But this year, it's not going to be open to the public. We know about the construction to the practice field. And earlier today, number one, I just haven't been posting a lot because, I'm trying to enjoy the time. I posted that, we should be getting some news about FanFest and possibly back together at some point. And little did I know, had I been paying attention earlier on, that FanFest has actually been confirmed. So we're not going to get the full training camp experience for folks that enjoy it. But FanFest at Bank of America Stadium is going to be on Saturday, August 2nd. So it is an event. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a fee to get in, if it's going to be like $5, if it's going to be free. I don't know. But I would anticipate, I hope, a pretty good turnout. This is on a Saturday. I know Back Together, which was at Clemson last year, was kind of weird and not a good turnout. Sounds like they're not going to do any of that. At least there's nothing that's been reported, and we're in the middle of, not middle, but the beginning of July. So we'll see. But you will have FanFest. Of course, you will also have the preseason games, 2 of them at home. So you do have an opportunity to also make it down to one of those if you're in to, hey, want to go out and see them before we get into the season. It is cheaper as far as tickets and all that. So gives your family a chance to come in at a cheaper price to get in to see them. No, I'm not here for the jokes about how cheap tickets have been over the last 2 seasons. I do think they're trending up. Like, I mean, I'm not a PSL owner, but I just was like online looking at some tickets in general. It feels like things are kind of headed in the right direction. So, anyways, if you are interested, I would circle that. The team website, Panthers.com, literally just has like 2 sentences on it so far. So I would think that we are going to eventually hear some more information. So we'll stay tuned. Of course, we'll get you guys updated. Hey man, always appreciate it, man. And appreciate all you folks always tuning in. So we're talking through a little bit of training camp. As far as what this is going to be, I don't know. Interested to see what they do with the Fan Fest. We did not go this past year. I think this past year it was like a Saturday morning, if I recall. I think the night event probably would work better, but I also know that there just wasn't speaking of buzz, no knock on Charlotte area and the Hornets, but there wasn't a lot of buzz, in particular with the Carolina Panthers going into last season. But I do think there's some there now. So we'll see how it pans out. Like I said, I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty of the position battles because we've got all that covered, and I've already started to give you insights as we've gone through this. But I think for me, still, one of the positives is, relatively speaking, the Carolina Panthers are healthy heading into camp. We know there was a few bang-ups, Jimmy Horn, but he's okay. Tedro McMillan, he's fine. Derek Brown should be back. So all those are positive things. The one question mark that we have right now is the status of Tommy Tremble. Is he going to be back? And we will get an update. And it's one of the things I talked about earlier today. I mean, one of the positives of guys reporting and when they report is, we're going to know statuses. Is he going to go on the PUP list? Is he going to, or, what is Canales going to say? What is that, whoever giving us the update on the status of Tommy Tremble, his surgery? Are we talking, being ready by the end of training camp? Are we talking end of the preseason? Is he going to miss time at the beginning of the season? We'll see. Now, I don't know how much to read into it, but I did see a few weeks ago whenever they had the tight end U camp thing, Tommy Tremble was there. And I mean, he was just in street clothes, wasn't, really participating as far as whatever they were doing on the field, but we'll see. So, when you think about the status of the Panthers, that's one positive note for where they sit right now. So we'll find out about that. There's going to be a lot to discuss about the receiver room. How many are we going to carry? That's the continued conversation that everybody's going to have. Is it 6? It seems to be. Who's the odd man out? Pick your guy. So, I can't wait for that battle to take off. Here's the thing, and we never want injuries to occur, but just relatively speaking, too, you just never know what could happen through camp in the preseason as you get down into your final roster, and what could happen along the way that impacts this, and this guy makes it over this guy for whatever reason. So something for us to monitor. I'm excited about the competition that's there. Because I just recorded the episode on running backs, of course, I'm excited about the running back competition, and I'm battling myself between this idea of 3 or 4, just to give you insight. And I'm sitting at 3, but I keep coming back around to making a case for Raheem Blackshear as a returner, simply because he was there and contributing as a kick returner and punt returner last year. I think a lot of times, at least I think of Raheem Blackshear as a kick returner, and he excelled. He did well. No, he didn't take any kicks to the house, but he excelled. He was good at it. But he also had pretty decent amount of time as a punt returner. And so being able to check both of those boxes, and again, we know we have Horn, you also have ETN in the mix. How is this going to play out? So we'll I mean, I'm excited about that one in particular. And I don't know, it's not a position battle, but just seeing what Bryce Young is going to look like heading out here into his 3rd season. second season with Dave Canales. Excited. So I don't know that there's really, I'm not going to get into too much any other details when it comes to the roster and battles because there's a lot. And I've already started breaking some of that stuff down. So we'll wait. Once we get through all that, happy to start talking through about it. One thing we'll talk before we transition into some college football talk is the slate for the Carolina Panthers. I know a lot of folks feel confident about the Panthers. Well, one, we should take a step back. There's a lot of folks mentioning the word playoffs. And it's funny, I'm putting together this episode. We're talking Panthers, we're going to talk Gamecocks, we're going to talk UNC football. Out of that group, which one is most likely to make the playoffs in their respective league? Which for me, I think I'd put the Gamecocks ahead of the Panthers right now. It's early. We're going to see. Gamecocks have a tough hill to climb, but they have a lot of expectations in Columbia. It should be exciting. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. But a lot of people are mentioning the Panthers, dark horse, playoffs. There's expectations now. And to be honest, they may be a year early. Like this foundation that's being laid, when you think about Dave Canales and where he sits, he was given a runway. And it feels like he actually has the runway. He actually has the keys. It's not what we've seen under the previous eras with Tepper. Like in some instances, he might have given somebody a car. He might have given Matt Rule a car, but he also had a spare key, or he had the keys, or he controlled whatever it is. And in this case, it seems that he's like all hands off. So I do think there is a little bit of flexibility there. So it may not be this year, but it could be next year. But I do think this should be a competitive football team. We should, as a fan base, start to think about playoffs. Now, you got to get over the humps. And I lead all that to say is the starting point for the Panthers being on the road the first 2 weeks actually could be a little bit of a positive. We've heard a lot of conversations over the years about coaches and their philosophy on traveling, how it makes them a tighter unit. Dave Canales has talked about it. You're not out and about. You're not going back to your home. You're in the hotel. You're getting to work. You're focused on your film. You're doing whatever you got to do with the team. You're spending the 48, 72 hours with the team, traveling, eating. And so you're going to be doing that. So you think about the Panthers going through training camp, and it's a little bit different because, again, they're not staying at Wofford off-site, so it's not that same camaraderie, but a little bit similar to that, leading into travel down to Jacksonville and then traveling across the country to Arizona. Although we would think that both of these games, I think we would say the Panthers should have a good chance. I am kind of holding my reservations back a little bit right now on the Jacksonville game. Not saying that Jacksonville's going to be a good football team, but I am curious to see, like, what is Lawrence going to look like? I think that they may be okay, but I think the Panthers should be the better football team in both of these matchups in week 1 and week 2. But it's going to be a point when we talk about the Panthers, like when we start to look back on whatever this season becomes, those are 2 big games, followed by, of course, the home opener against the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, that's a big matchup. And I would hate, as we talk about fans and attendance and training camp, I would hate for the Carolina Panthers to come back to Bank of America Stadium in week 3, 0-2. You talk about deflating a fan base. I'd still anticipate a good turnout for that game because it's Atlanta. But you think about what this city could look like, what Bank of America Stadium could look like, what the fans could be feeling, how the players are feeling going in at 2-0 versus 0-2. 1-1's okay as well. Like if you split whatever this comes out to, 1-1 with a chance to take on the Atlanta Falcons, get an early win within the NFC South, we're all for it. Especially, there's been a lot. Like I'm not one of the folks out there. Hats off to y'all that want to do this. I'm not one of the folks out there that does all the talking with the opposing fan bases. But I know the Atlanta Falcons fan base has been talking a lot with some of you folks out here on Panthers Nation this entire offseason. So I feel like some of y'all are very prepared, ready to get this game under. So, anyways, it's going to be pivotal. Fun times. Let me get back up in here. So, we're going to pivot now, talk a little bit of college football. Guys, part of the Carolina Dad Show that we have is focused on University of North Carolina football. We do not go into the weeds at the same level as we do with Panthers. It's just not a thing. It's closer. It's funny. Like, I started the Panthers podcast as a fan. I'm still a fan, but things have just shifted a little bit for me. Like, it's still fun. It's great. It's just a different lens versus me like kicking back and talking UNC football or Gamecocks football or ACC football with where we sit. So we do a lot of that. But looking ahead into the Bill Belichick era here, we did have, I don't know if you call it a development, but pretty interesting note with Mac Johnson, who we know suffered that gruesome injury opening week last year against Minnesota up there on the comeback trail. So it technically has not been a year, but there was I was going to say a viral clip, but it was a workout clip of him that I guess did gain some traction, showing him running around, throwing the football. He captioned it with "Leg is feeling great, looking forward to fall camp." I mean, this dude suffered a broken femur back again in 2024. I am genuinely curious what this, and he's left-handed, so that also just throws, a wrench into the mix of this equation. But I'm curious to see how this plays out, because you have Lopez, who you brought in as a transfer. It would seem to me that it's probably between Lopez and maybe is Johnson back in the mix. I don't know. I mean, it's way too early. We're going to get into camp. We're going to find out. I am also, as a Panthers fan, it'll be pretty funny for me if Bryce Baker, who rookie incoming, makes a name for himself. And then, of course, I'll be trying to keep myself straight talking about Bryce's when it comes to football talk. But yeah, you have Max Johnson, like we said, Gio Lopez, and Bryce Baker. So this 3-person competition, to me, it initially felt as though when we were talking through this, that it was probably going to be between Lopez and Bryce Baker. Lopez probably with the upper hand, still TBD. But with Johnson back in the mix, I'm curious to see how this thing is going to play out. Now, speaking of just the Belichick era, and we do have a UNC football preview coming out shortly. So it's already recorded. I just haven't uploaded it through everything that's happening. Big year for Bill Belichick. And I mean, a lot of expectations. I don't know that he's going to be able to take the ingredients that he has and cook up a 5-star meal. So you think about Bill Belichick, and it's just weird still as someone that, again, followed closely in the NFL and seeing him there, coming back to the team that you root for in college. Talking about him as the head coach of your team, it still doesn't sit, but it's been a very bumpy, weird ride. He kind of forced his hand in here. He's getting an exuberant amount of money, and everyone continues to either talk about his girlfriend or the ability for him to leave. Carolina's invested a ton of money here, and I don't know. I just don't know how this thing is going to play out. He has started to recruit, and he is recruiting well. Like, you look out into the future classes, think hovering in the top 30, looking out into the future. He took the recruiting class, which Mac Brown had here, which is in the range of the 70s, like 74. But part of that is like there was a lot of uncertainty with Mac Brown. We thought Mac Brown was done earlier in the season, and then he's like this back and forth drama. So a lot of kids probably holding out. Like, you're not going to have as many commits when you have this, not to mention the age, all the negative recruiting. So then you flip around and you have Belichick. So Belichick, though, able to get it, a much better position when you look at the transfer portal but I just don't know if it's enough. And I don't know if you're a fan of North Carolina, and even if you're not a fan of North Carolina, I don't know what your expectations are for like how you chalk this up to be a successful season for the University of North Carolina. Because I can tell you, Mac Brown probably could get you 7 wins. And I will say though, the talent is definitely declined. He's produced great talent through his recruiting, but a lot of the talent that was here, the Hamptons, the Mays, the Howells, all that is gone, and a lot of other pieces that are in between. I'm curious what he's going to be able to do with what he has, because it's out in front of him now. And as far as like expectations, like I said, Mac could win 7, definitely could get you 6. So for me, it's like, is Bill Belichick going to elevate you to the point of 9? Is 9 wins enough? Is 10 wins? And do you think that he can take that big of a leap as his coaching style, his philosophy, his 33rd NFL team discussion that he's having, is that enough? Can he figure it out and still manage everything that's happening? I mean, I'll say behind the scenes, but everything between him and the quote unquote, and it's not necessarily drama, but it is to the larger media, and he's going to get the questions. But is all that playing a role, and how does that impacting his team? It's going to be a wild one. Opening up, of course, the season against TCU, Monday Night Football. All eyeballs are going to be on this game, and they're going to get a lot of primetime opportunities throughout the season. The schedule, and again, we have the schedule coming out, a preview of the schedule. It's favorable. It's favorable early until you get to Clemson. Big, bad Clemson coming into Chapel Hill is going to be a tough matchup. I mean, by all accounts, Clemson favorite to win the ACC. Yes. Playoff team. Yes. I mean, by nature of being in the ACC and being where they are today, Clemson should be a playoff team. Clemson should be in the ACC championship, and they should win the ACC. And there's potential for them to be top 10, top 5. Like, they have a lot of talent on that roster, especially if you look at the 2026 NFL mock drafts. Clemson Tigers are set up to do well this year. Dabo slowly buying into the portal a little bit, picking and choosing when he wants. But it's a big year, and it's going to start out, if Carolina can get through the TCU game, they've got a few winnable games, Charlotte, Richmond, like those are kind of cakewalks. The UCF game is going to be tough because you're they're going to have a target on their back. So I don't know. We'll have plenty of this to discuss when we get deep into the college football season and see how this whole thing plays out. For the sake of Bill Belichick and North Carolina and his players, I hope it works. I just don't know that he has enough. And I say that because people think about Bill Belichick in the NFL. They think about his success, and you tie it to Brady, and you see Bill Belichick without Brady, it wasn't good. And it didn't get much better. And he was sort of the GM there in New England. So what makes you think that they're just going to figure it out now? Like, what exactly has changed to where he can take this college level talent and work with it? The other thing is, I was talking to my father-in-law's dad. We were chatting about it. He's a big sports fan, college football fan. But you think about Bill Belichick in the NFL, he had NFL talent. We have not seen Bill Belichick with college talent. I mean, you were talking about guys that went from playing Friday Night Lights at whatever high school this past year. And again, it's not all of them, but partially guys that are fresh out of playing that. And how can he develop these guys? So I don't know. I'm bullish on what this season can be. I think a lot of it does. I mean, it does hinge on that first 4-game stretch, your non-conference slate, which in general is pretty easy. You get, like we said, you get through TCU, should be setting yourselves up to be 4-0. I mean, given the hype or the anticipation of hype, you're talking about a team that could be ranked, facing a likely top 5 team in Clemson coming into North Carolina. It's exciting. I got to tell you, once you get through that, the schedule does, like, you start to see that, like, okay, if they can get through that milestone, there is a chance for this team to kind of figure it out. But they've got a target on their back. When they've had a target on their back with Mac Brown as the coach, they haven't been able to do it. Not at all. What's good, man? Yeah, UNC, little UNC football talk. All right, folks, we're going to close it out. Talk a little bit of Gamecocks. You guys know, part-time Gamecocks fan, because it's where the in-laws pull part. Well, to be honest, there's a portion of Clemson fans and a portion of Gamecock fans, but we go to the Gamecock games, and we just put out our, or I put out, I always say our, we just put out our 2025 preview for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Lots of expectations in Columbia. A lot of it riding on Beamer. We're sitting here talking about North Carolina's schedule. South Carolina Gamecocks have a very tough schedule this year. I do think, given where they sit, though, and what we saw last year, the South Carolina Gamecocks should be in the conversation for playoffs. And I think to get to that mark, they've got to be eclipsing or hitting that 10-win milestone. You now look actually at the college football playoff predictor, ESPN's Football Power Index has them at a 20% chance, which is wild. But I will tell you, as a part-time Gamecocks fan, the one thing, there's a few things, to be honest. The defense that we saw last year lost a lot of talent to the NFL. Now, you still have Dylan Stewart. You still have a lot of good talent around it, but there may be a bit of a learning curve, and there may be a little bit of a drop-off there on the defensive side of the ball. But the defense was part of the foundation for why this team was as good as they were last year. On the offensive side of the ball, you have Lenoris Sellers, and Paul Feinbaum said, he said, could Lenoris Sellers be the best South Carolina quarterback ever? I know a lot of people like to throw out, and as they should, the name Connor Shaw. He led the team to 3 consecutive 11-win seasons. So I don't know that we're going to put Sellers in that conversation right this second, but I will tell you that Lenoris Sellers does have the hype. You look at his size, his potential. You talk about Heisman candidacy right now, or potential to be a Heisman candidate as it sits right now. Where his success is going to lie is figuring out the passing game. He had a good year last year, 2,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 600 yards on the ground, 7 rushing touchdowns, evaded pressure. I mean, he pulled out some ridiculous plays against Clemson there to close out the season and win that game. But I think for him, one, as we talk about him as a prospect in the NFL, because that's going to be the next piece of all this, is like, eventually, you're talking about him getting into the NFL. You're going to need to see some progress in making him more of a pure passer. He's very elusive. He's good, but he's not Lamar Jackson level to where he could get away some of the things and learn his way into the NFL. I think he's got to be a little bit better passer. But I do think there are very high expectations for this team this year. But getting to that 10-win milestone it's not going to be easy. As we've talked about, so for those that don't follow the SEC closely, or South Carolina, with the expansion of Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC decided, which I think it's pretty lazy in my opinion, to have the same SEC schedule the first year, which was last year, and this year, but all they did was flip the home and away. So if you've gone through, there are some very difficult games for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Alabama, and maybe they're not the Alabama of old with Nick Saban, but that's still always a difficult matchup. Fortunately, that game's in Columbia. LSU is LSU, at LSU this year, at Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. Like, it doesn't get any easier. And that's not even talking through your Missouri battle, which is probably top 25, Vanderbilt, who's on the come up, Kentucky. It's just not a difficult schedule. And I know a lot of folks who may not follow the SEC as closely. And again, I'm an ACC guy, but when you hear folks talking about the difficulty of the SEC, that's why. I don't know that there is a bad football team in there. So it's difficult. So you got to figure out, we got to lose 2-ish games to give ourselves an opportunity to get this thing. On top of that, you have the South Carolina Gamecocks with Clemson, who again, we just talked about when we were talking about North Carolina, but Clemson, who is a top 5 team, top 10, whatever, they're going to be in contention for playoffs, ACC, all that. That's one of your out of conference games. And again, I know it's the rivalry. I'm just like setting this up. When you start tracking how difficult South Carolina's schedule is this upcoming year, when you're talking about maybe half of your schedule being against ranked opponents, some of the best competition in the country, and you open up the season, and no, it's not the Virginia Tech team of old, but you do open up against the Power 4 opponents in Virginia Tech and a neutral site in Atlanta, which one I'm excited about for him to be able to play his dad's former team. But I say all that. So I talked about, impact Dylan Stewart on the defensive side of the ball and the defense in general. Lenora Sellers, yes, like those two pieces hinge together. It's Beamer. We talk about Beamer ball. We talk about Shane Beamer. He's had some good. He's had some bad. He's had more wins in his first 4 seasons than any coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks in their history. He's had some highs and some lows. The inconsistency has been the most difficult part. We've seen some good stuff. We've seen some bad stuff. Now we need to see year over year that you're able to build upon what you have. So you laid a foundation for a 9-win team, suffered a difficult loss and a really competitive matchup against Illinois in the bowl game. Now you need to take that and figure out how to take the next step. It's not going to be easy, but I am excited about it. And hope you guys are too. What's good, Rock? Hey, man, appreciate you tuning in. Sorry, guys, I was going through a tangent. Yes, Gamecocks scared me with big expectations, right? A lot of expectations there. Right? Chapel Bill would love to have it, man. Cool, man. Well, as always, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in to the show. I stayed on here way later than I thought, but we got lots of content coming out on the channel, you guys. So be sure that you're subscribed or you follow it wherever you get your podcast. As always, Carolina Dad,